how difficult for you as a coach to understand what is going on in the mindset of Indian players, because culturally they are different.
Yeah.
If you want to communicate in a different way, they might react in a different way. How difficult and how important is this man management?
You know, my communication to the foreign players, I can do that, and for some of the Indian players, but for those that don't understand English as their first language, that's I've got to make sure the connection and the communication is spot on, and that's where I rely on some of the other coaches. You know, I think we've got a very good team. Unfortunately, we don't play in Kolkata. We're playing most of our matches up north. Australians are very competitive. Indians are very competitive, and they'll want success for sure. And sometimes you can play a game and play very well and don't win. So you know, we learn from those situations, but we wish to play well every game, and if we win, it's.
He has played 175 matches for his country, and as a coach, he was associated with last 8 years for Australia, and prior to that, his stint was with New Zealand and Belgium. Internationally, he is a very, very successful coach. This year, in Hockey India League, he will be coaching Shrachi Bengal Rarh Tigers. Today with me, Mr. Colin Batch. Coach, do you have any idea about Indian hockey?
I've been aware of Indian hockey for a long, long time, and had admired a lot of the skill and the success that Indian hockey has had over a long period of time. Okay, there was a time in the 80s where the late 80s, early 90s, they dropped away, but they come back now with a force. So I'm very much aware of the potential of Indian hockey, and I think what the league gives me is an opportunity to have a look at not just the national players, but the next group coming through.
So he was not there when this the auction was happened. So how you are involved with the team making process?
Yeah, it's well, we had a plan going into the auction, but I was still in Australia when the auction was taking place, so I was sort of in communication when the auction was live. So it was a very stressful time, of course, because you don't always get the plan that doesn't always go right. So if you miss out on a player, you have to have the plan B and plan C and make sure you try and get the next player. But we're very happy with the group. I think we've got a good balance with some experience out there, but also some youth coming through, and of course some good overseas players.
So in Indian hockey, what is the qualitative difference between European hockey and Indian hockey?
Well, I think for many years there, it was just the experience of playing at a high level all the time and training at that high level, and I think they have had that through a number of different coaches over the last 10 years. So yes, they've got bronze medal out of the last 2 Olympics, but it's a lead up to that bronze medal, and you've got to admire the coaching that has taken place over 10 or 12 years, not just the current coaches that are in place. But it's a mindset that Indian have decided to renew the Hockey India League, and I think that was the foundation of the success that they're having now.
So how important is this Hockey India League to boost up the overall hockey culture in India and to promote Indian hockey in the another level? Yeah,
well, we know hockey was traditionally the game of India. You know, if you go back to the 30s where it was so successful, and cricket came along. And cricket has dominated, and the Indians love their cricket. I know the Test series in Australia at the moment is very front of mind for people, but we have a hockey tournament here. Some of the best players in the world are playing at it, including some of the best Indian players that are at the top level now, and we have these youthful players coming through. So it's very exciting for me, who's been around for a long time, but to be part of this and to have an involvement with the Bengal Tigers.
So coach, there is a belief that at one point of time India used to dominate hockey when there was the whole infrastructure was that the players used to play in the grass court. But after the introduction of this AstroTurf, India started lagging behind. So still that problem is haunting Indian hockey? Do you believe that?
No.
Because most of the grassroots players are still coming to playing from grassroots.
Look, there are slightly different techniques, of course, but I think it's more the tactical side of things and the physical side of things, the conditioning of the Indian players now that are bringing it to the next level. Still, they have some outstanding skills, and you can develop them on the grass. And then once they get into an academy, it's important that they concentrate on developing their skills on the turf. But still, it's so important for decision making and to do that and to recognise the right pass at the right time or the way you receive the ball is still very important.
And you coached for the last 8 years in Australia. So Australia is tenacity-wise, strength-wise, skill-wise, how different are they from Indians are different from the Australians?
Well, of course, the basis of the Australian success, if you go back 50 years, come from India. There are a lot of the Indians lived in Perth, and we learnt a lot from those players. They ended up playing for Australia. But that's the foundation that Australia was built on. I'm talking about the Melbourne Olympics in 1956, so I know it's a long time ago. But the basis of that and the 60 campaign, the 64, was some strong Indian players that were coming through from youngsters, and they gave Australia that foundation. And now it's well established in all the states in Australia, but the separation is always something that's very difficult for Australia because we live so far apart. It's a big country, and to try and bring the players together on a regular basis is difficult. That's why we have the national program in Perth, having the best players train constantly with the best players.
So what should India do to promote hockey in the next level? Although we are winning medals in last two Olympics, we are the bronze winner. But what do you think what India should do to bring back those golden eras in Indian hockey?
Well, I think the foundation is there. You know, to be successful on the podium at the Olympic Games is a big thing. So twice in a row bronze medal, we've got to build on that. But to bring back the Hockey India League is another exposure that Indian hockey can rely on, as long as it's marketed properly. So I think, you know, we are up against cricket, but we shouldn't maybe compare ourselves to cricket. We need to keep building the hockey foundation, and it is an outstanding sport. I think they'll see that over the next 6 or 7 weeks.
Coming back to your team, Shrachi Rarh Bengal Tigers. What are the major strength area of this team? What is the major positive area of this team? You have worked with them, you have watched them playing.
Yep. Well, I think I'm still learning about them, because it's one thing to watch the players from the opposition, but also to then be coaching and working alongside them. So I'm still assessing the playing group. I think it's quite exciting to bring those Indian qualities and overseas, European, Australian, New Zealand, Ireland players together to try and form a team, and that's what we're trying to do, is to play well together as a team.
If you go through the Indian cricket IPL, the Indian football ISL, I-League, everywhere the foreign coach, they are dominating. This is your first stint as a coach in India. So how culturally you need to be cope up? How difficult it would be for you to cope up with the whole thing, or you are already ready to give up certain things or include certain things in your daily routine?
Look, it's a good question, and it's one that will be very challenging, because my communication to the foreign players, I can do that, and for some of the Indian players, but for those that don't understand English as their first language, that's I've got to make sure the connection and the communication is spot on, and that's where I rely on some of the other coaches, Deepak, Alam, for them to translate my message so that everyone understands. So it's very important that we're all on the one page and we understand and we're communicating well.
How difficult for you as a coach to understand what is going on in the mindset of Indian players, because culturally they are different.
Yeah.
If you want to communicate in a different way, they might react in a different way. How difficult and how important is this man management?
Well, I think it's very important, and you know, you can't treat everyone the same way, even though you wish the best for all the players and you want them to improve. But everyone has a slightly different way of communicating. I've got to understand that and learn that with each individual.
And you're fond of cricket?
Yeah, yeah. Well, Australia and cricket, they love their cricket, and at the moment it's summertime in Australia, so of course it's very front of mind as well. I think very important for Australia to do well at cricket, but it's you know, the Indians are obsessed with cricket as well, so it's a good mix.
So what is your target for your team, hockey team, Shrachi Bengal Tigers?
We'd like to finish in the top 4, and if we can do that, then we'll be very happy. But by and large, I still want to improve all the players. I want them to work together as a team and have a good series. I would be disappointed if we didn't get in the top 4, and then once we're there, then we'll set some goals around
another
what
thing,
we can achieve.
Indians are very, very demanding from their teams, from their favorite players, from their coaches. Are you aware of that?
Oh yeah. Like Australians are very competitive, Indians are very competitive, and they'll want success for sure. And sometimes you can play a game and play very well and don't win. So you know, we learn from those situations, but we wish to play well every game, and if we win, it's a bonus for us.
And you have watched the team, you have coached them for first session, and injury is no problem. At this moment, there is no injury.
We've got one injury, a small injury. We think it's a small injury, and you know, we're still a couple of weeks away from our first game, so we've got to take care of those injuries. We don't have to. While we want to develop the squad and have some intensity, if someone is injured, then they take it easy at the moment. We get the right treatment, and then we build towards that first game.
My last question, your message to Shrachi Bengal team fans?
Yeah, well, jump on board, because you know, I think we've got a very good team. Unfortunately, we don't play in Kolkata. We're playing most of our matches up north. But if you travel up north, I think you will be quite surprised how well we go. And you know, we're very happy to have your support. And even if you're not there at the ground, then we want the support online through social media.
Thank you, coach. Thank you for talking with us.
Okay, thank you.
Shrachi Bengal Tigers coach clearly said that his main aim is to qualify for the last 4 team in this tournament. After that, it will make or break.